My name's Justin Rigney, and this class is NePoPo. You may be looking at that, what the fuck is that? Food, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna make that as crystal clear as I can. Big man here in front with beard, stop me in the hall, said, bro, I'm back again. I taught this yesterday. If you can leave here, hopefully being confused a little bit at best. So it's an expansive, vast system with many dimensions and many things that go, many moving parts with it. But as you see here, you can become an architect of your own system. It's not a cookie cutter template that's going to give you the answers for everything. It inspires you to create your own shit, which at the end of the day is you and your dog, and you're the expert of your own dog. So I'm truly honored, sincerely honored that you guys came here this morning. There's some incredible instructors at the same time block here. And the fact that you chose me, man, I'm humbled. And in return, I hope to give you and arm you with some tools and some information that you can take back. So this is a wide open forum. If you guys are confused, something inspires or interests you, put on the brakes, ask me, because I got to rip through this. Yesterday was my first time I put this whole thing together. Everything I do is NePoPo, but I condense it into e-collar, into power biting, tracking, obedience. Normally when I teach, it's one specific topic, not all things dogs, which this is going to be. So slow my roll, put on the brakes, and let me know what happens here if it's not clear. So NePoPo on its face is an acronym. It stands for negative, which is the knee. Po is positive. Po, second positive. I have tools here to help kind of illustrate things. So I have a sound box that's attached to a finger kick, which I use in my e-collar system. So when you hear that, you know that I'm stimulating, or I would be stimulating the dog on various levels, low, high, whatever it may be. But that's not for the dog. A lot of times I get questions, well, what the fuck, the dog's going to pair that together. That's for the humans, it's not for the dog. So NePoPo has evolved over the years. It's evolving as we speak. It's a system that was created by Bart Bellin and his wife, Michael Bellin. I first met Bart about 2006, and I'd heard about him. I'd known about him back then. We only had little shitty DVD videos or little VCR videos of him competing in Belgium, and I was fucking blown away by what this guy was doing on another level, space age shit. He came to Florida, I jumped on, and I've been training with him every year since then. And as when we spoke out in the hallway, man, it took me about 5 or 6 years of utter fucking confusion to figure out what was this dude talking about. And it was a dog that told me, did something, and he said, the aha moment, I get it. And then when I get it, he changes shit. And then it's this ever-evolving learning curve, which excites me. I got ADD bad, so when shit gets stagnant, I check out. So negative reinforcement, which we're going to talk about a lot. And if you're not familiar with the quadrants, I'm going to hit on it and try and make sure it's clear. But it's simply the removing of small unpleasant feelings. The human analogy I give you, which you've been in a couple classes, is the seatbelt alarm in many modern cars. I've rented this what is this shit called? Subaru Forester, a little liberal mobile. When I get in that thing, I try it on Facebook and drive, and the fucking noise of the seatbelt alarm made me insane. But what did it do? It prompted me to grab that seatbelt, click it in, and say, shut up. Slightly annoying, unpleasant feeling stops to create a behavior, boom. So with NePoPo, the negative is negative reinforcement. Let's say I'm trying to get the dog to come to heel. Low, unpleasant feeling, I bring him into position. Low, unpleasant feeling stops is the first positive. The second positive is immediately adding a tangible reward. And that makes the dog want to get into position faster and faster, because at the end of the day, and you're going to understand this, the dogs want to find their advantage in everything. So the whole basis of this is that we want our dogs to maintain all their power, all their drive, all the aggression and bite work, all the drive and tracking and detection, with enthusiasm, with power, and with heart and soul. You're going to hear that quite a bit. But with absolute durability and reliability in every position and behavior, that they know they must do it, but they do it with power and with flash, where our dogs are capable of it. A lot of times we're pressed for time, this cookie cutter fast shit, we're putting pressure on dogs to do things. I talk mad shit about my agency that I retired from, I have a lawsuit against, but one thing they did give me was time. My patrol dog schools took 6 months long. I was given that time. We're going to talk more about why. So NePoPo asks a very simple but deep question about why does the dog do what it does? Why? What the fuck? Why does my little Chihuahua do little weird shit? Why does my fucking Ferrari racetrack, highly bred Malinois Dutch Shepherd, why do they do the behaviors that they do? And every single dog on earth is hardwired the same way. My little asshole Chihuahua that wants me dead, my wife's dog, he wants to kill me dead. And my patrol dog Why do they do every single behavior that they do? And if you analyze that and understand that, you can apply it to many different training contexts. I'm going to attempt to use high-tech shit. And it works. Wow, look at that. Dogs do what they do to find their advantage in every single situation. What does that mean? What am I saying? Where they're trying to meet their instinctual needs every minute of their day. Their day as a predator is designed for survival, for meeting all their needs. Their pack needs, eating, drinking, dominance in the pack, position in the pack, finding their advantage by grabbing a toy first, getting involved with engaging with the owner. And then we look to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a human behavioral chart or behavioral analysis about why we do the shit that we do. Eating, drinking, fucking, fighting. It's the same as the dog. Finding their position, finding their advantage in every single thing that they do. I started a Facebook fight, which I'm good at. I have many Facebook fights under my belt. One of them was a simple question, it's Nick, right? Does your dog work to please you or to please himself? When I say him, I mean girl dog. And then some asshole said, he responded by saying, they work to get their picture in the paper, you fucking asshole. Well, I had to educate him a little bit. They are 100% working. Now, I'm not saying our little French bulldog, our little Chihuahua goes to fucking snuggle my wife. Yeah, he loves her. He wants to please her and some shit. But the shit that they do, sticking their pavement down in South Florida on 100-degree heat, 100% humidity, to fucking soak up pavement to find a bag, he's doing that to please you. He's doing that to please himself, to find his advantage, to meet his instinctual needs. Hunting, biting, all these other shit that he loves to do. We've taken these God-given natural instincts and morphed them into productive behaviors that we want. We have to create a system where the dog's empowered, and it has to be their idea. They have to be the creator. We force dogs to do things, it becomes ugly. It becomes our task, not theirs. If we can create a system that makes the dog believe it's their idea and their invention, it is the gospel, and it's hardwired into their DNA. Just like you go to your supervisor with a really good idea, you put together an operational plan, it looks like gold, you go, fuck, it's stupid, you can't do that. And 2 months later, he puts it out to the troops that it's his idea. Right? It comes from them, it's the gospel. And every behavior they have has a purpose and a goal. There's a drive goal before and after and during every behavior that they do. Sniffing, chewing on shit. Did anybody here does pet training? A couple pet trainers? You got the real dog training for me is in pet training. You can learn analyzing dogs from these dogs that are empowered to be little punks that are running their situation, or running their household. Their nerve bags, their drives are not hardwired for shit. They don't want your food, your toy, your love. They don't give a fuck. You can take a dog like that that's not genetically predisposed to be a Ferrari like our patrol dogs or a single purpose dog, and make those dogs understand their job, know that they must do their job, but they look flashy and all about it. That's the science. That's what this whole thing is about. So with a dog, by finding their advantage, they're looking to increase good feelings in their life. Scratches on the ass, food in the belly, achieving your toy. They want to acquire good feelings. Part of their advantage is also avoiding unpleasant feelings. It is all about them. Again, they're trying to make their life as simple and as smooth and as fulfilled as possible. So that's why negative reinforcement works. Avoid those slightly unpleasant feelings. Find their advantage to duck those punches, to duck those little annoying feelings. So by taking away small unpleasant feelings, the dog understands that they can return to that position over and over and over. And by overlaying it with a second positive of a tangible reward, the dog finds their advantage quickly, twofold. Avoid the unpleasant negative feeling, and they get paid. It's about finding the position as fast as they can. And in this system, it creates heart, soul, and passion and desire to do behaviors. And they also learn to stay away from high unpleasant stuff. My pet trainers, we get clients all the time, dogs are chewing up shit, they're counter surfing, they're fucking going head to toe with Oscar the Grouch in a garbage can. Well, how do you stop that shit? We use technology to our advantage. The dog's trained with electronics. We bait the countertop. We set up the Wi-Fi drop cam when we leave. E-collars work through walls and windows. It decreases the signal. You put a ham sandwich on that countertop, homeboy sees you leave, he goes up to snatch that, find his advantage by getting that ham sandwich. Boom. Nobody says shit, the ham sandwich tastes like lightning. You can have your fucking ham sandwich. You're chilling over here. He finds his advantage to avoid the unpleasant feelings. Well, the problem is it's a behavior ratio, it's a repetition game, it's a numbers game. If he goes up 5 out of 10 times and snatches that ham sandwich, there's a big prize up there. He may suffer sometimes, but he'll still go for it. If every single time that ham sandwich tastes like lightning, he's gonna say, fuck ham sandwiches, trust me. Finding their advantage to avoid the unpleasant. They're all hardwired like that. They're narcissistic creatures. The magic of NePoPo is the dog must do their job. You must stay on track, and you must find detection. You must stay in obedience for the decoy shooting a gun, but you love to, because we've educated you to find that pole position, that advantage. So this system, has anybody not heard of Bart Bellin? All right, so most people have. Well, don't give a fuck about raising your hand. It's 8 o'clock and you guys are hard charging. So for me, he's the elite trainer in the fucking universe, right? So I've been doing this 25 years, I've been blessed, and I've been very gifted by God to fucking be learning from incredible people. I call it being a victim of geography. When I started 25 years ago, there was no Facebook, there was no YouTube. We had shitty Learberg videos and fucking gossip, that was it. So the people around me were very educated, man. I was forever grateful. I didn't have to spin my wheels trying to figure shit out with trial and error. I had fucking people that knew and they pushed me in the right direction. When I met Bart in 06, I knew shit was on another level, man. So, quick video of his work. We call this reflex response. The dog is fucking robotic. Almost looks like this is a fucking, a Disney Pixar fucking illustration where how does an animal move with that precision? And you see, what is Bart? You see the gestural communication, the body language? There's almost none. Little small cues. But the dog's ears are up, tail's up, he's in drive, he's on fire. Look at me, look to the target. Left side, right side. Barking on command. On and off switch, it's sick, man, it's sick. So these natural God-given behaviors that we utilize for our advantage, right? To produce behaviors we want to find bad guys, to find those, to find moms. They're natural God-given behaviors. Have you ever been walking your pet dog along the street and he comes into some fucking odor that puts him in euphoria? It just makes him mesmerized. He sticks his nose in some animal odor, maybe it's a female heat, and you cannot for the life of you rip that fucker off. He's fighting you tooth and nail to stay in that specific behavior because that odor has touched him deeply in his DNA and says, I must continue to investigate. They perceive the world through their nose. We know this. All the information, all the data comes to the olfactory system. But that has him in fucking work, and you're fighting him. How come we can't create that same fight for dope, for explosives, for human tracking under? But we can, if you understand the components of how to get there. Anybody do shoots in IPO or things that involve retrieval work? This little flat-faced fuck, right? They don't even have mouths. He's got a death grip on his foot, right? He's got a full, powerful, deep grip. I cannot break stick it off this motherfucker. There's no room because he's got no face. Right? But he has invented this game, because you see this little half a dog over here? I have little 5 or 6 little Frenchies that run around our house every couple hours on rotation. And his fucking game is to play keep away. If you put that outside by himself, he doesn't give a fuck about it. But the fact that it's pack bullshit, pack dynamics, pack fuckery going on, and he wants to find it, he wants everybody to chase him. Because it's his invention, he's got that powerful death grip on that thing from a creature that can't bite shit to begin with. So the whole ideas of biting and outing and full behaviors and staying on odor that we want, when we want, that's the idea. And when it's the dog's invention, it's powerful. So I do a lot of work with all kinds of pets, mixed breeds and everything, but I like to show engaged obedience, engaged work with off-breeds, because if we can't get our highly driven Malinois or Dutch Shepherd, that's all the genetic potential in the world, so $10,000 dog at a year old, to do dynamic healing or fast twitchy behaviors, we start with animals that are not normally predisposed to do that. 3 months old, the dog never had a female in his life developed. So it's a 7,000 square foot training building, half it's training, the other half storage and bullshit. This puppy's got the whole world to go sniff and investigate. But she's got the fucking heart and soul. 3 months old, powerful, heads up healing, engaged, knows where to be, knows exactly the spot to be to get paid. And she's all about it. So she never had a free meal in her life. So the lady that owns her is a NePoPo student as well. The first meal they ever had, they're in the whelping box. They're sleeping. Mama's out, taking a break. Mama's done with them. She says, fuck that, the milk bar's closed, and tired of little fuckers eating from me. Puppies are sleeping. She walks into the whelping box area the very first day, dumps kibble, throws it all over the ground in the whelping box. They wake up, what the fuck's that noise? Food, and then the fighting starts for the food. Who's the tougher? Who's the stronger? It's nature, finding the food, finding their advantage, getting pole position. So, very first day, this doesn't mean shit. And she does rapid fire, so they obtain it. I started another Facebook fight, why you double click? Why you single click? Fucking doesn't matter, I'll win. But the thing is, you want to piece that noise together with existential food. That little Legato Romagnolo, the Italian water dog, has never had a free meal in her life up to that point. And then the pack bullshit starts. They fire for food. That's why I was able to capture her attention in that 7,000 square foot building, because her only meal comes through her behavior. She pushes me for the work. So this dog here was my second patrol dog. He was we bought from Tony Guzman, Metro Dade Canine. He's a very nice dog, with all the genetic potential in the world. Very sporty. He's a totally social dog. My daughters could take him to school. He'd roll his back, scratch belly. He probably had 60, 70 street bites. He's a very well balanced dog. So I always trained him. When I retired him, I went and put a French ring title on him, because I just love training my dogs. But what I want you to notice in this video is the dog. A lot of people say, oh, my dog's a street beast. You can't control him, no outing, no recall, bullshit. So you can have high level control and a dog that can fucking be a hunter and an eater on the street, no problem. But it's a system. So I want you to notice the dog goes in. He's not this dog that's going to knock decoys around, but he goes in, takes a little pressure from the decoy. I come in, tell the decoy to stop resisting, blah, blah, blah. But I want you to notice his fast into the bite and how fast he responds. I use a whistle recall because I was preparing him for ring sport. Outing and coming back is nearly as fun as let's break that balance. And if you notice the header here, it says the world is watching, conflict-free training. Down in Florida, where I retired, we have a 5-acre training facility, state-of-the-art, fucking spoiled rotten. Our budget for canine alone was $4 million, just for canine. We had everything in the fucking world, and guys still there. Our field was positioned right alongside the Florida Turnpike. Hundreds and thousands of commuters, travelers, could see everything that we did on our training field. On the opposite side of the training field was a county building that had an exercise path that ran along our fence line. We had eyes on us all day long. Not only is the old school ground and pound, yank and crank, fucking caveman bullshit stupid and outdated, sometimes there's places for it, but the whole world is watching. We're here right now because social media has connected us. Instantaneously, information is out to the world immediately. And you can't always have the opportunity to say, hey, it's taken in a different context. So we have to train our dogs with clarity and conflict-free training. And this is the basis for it. Under high-level distraction, again, I like to do shit with off breeds. This is my pit bull. This is Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri, the largest Bass Pro Shops. The dog's under stimulus control. He's wearing the e-collar, I have a finger kick, like I do here. There's people everywhere, kids everywhere. This is business hours. Dog's tail up, his little crop ears are up. He's passionate about his job. He knows he must do his job and he loves it. So whether it's overcoming distraction, odors, and detection, other animals on live tracks, it's about overcoming those distractions. And the dog knows he must do his job. It's doing with heart and soul and passion is where this whole thing is about. All right, we're going to jump into some terminology. I sat in Cameron Ford's class yesterday. He asked a question is, what does primary reinforcement or secondary reinforcement mean? I shouted out, source is primary. He goes, wrong. So primary and secondary, South Florida we're from, it meant rewarding a source or rewarding from a secondary location. So his definition of primary and secondary is completely different. So I run through some terms just because so we're on the same page, just to give you an idea. And his slide is very powerful and very useful when you guys get to post. As he says, and I say a lot of my classes, these attorneys are paying attention. Some of the other felony-hosted canine events are allowing lawyers to sit where you're sitting. For me, I don't give a fuck because I'm not a cop anymore. But even when I was, I don't give a shit if you're there because I'm transparent about what we do and I'm passionate about what we do. So ethology is the science of animal behavior. It's everything we discussed about how animals learn. So stimulation from the e-collar. When a dog receives stimulation, I want it to be an activator. I want it to put the dog in gear, to fire him, put them back into a behavior that they've left, that we've commanded them to do. So it's to encourage interest or arousal. It's an activation, not a depressant. So it can be stim from a prong collar, stim from electronics. It should load the dog, not depress him. I'm going to teach you how to create that. I talked to Barb many, many times, and I asked him one time, I said, bro, you guys, you Belgians, must be producing dogs that genetically get jacked up on their electronics. I've had my hands on some. Just in the beginning training, you hit them and they're fucking loaded. It's like they did a hit of fucking cocaine or something. He says, no, they don't, but maybe it's just an evolution. Maybe it's an adaptation that the master electricians, the Belgians, masterminds. All this shit is from them and Bart's people that maybe the dogs have adapted over the years. Who the fuck knows? That's beyond me. Tactile. Training through touch and through feel. So anybody ride horses in here? Or train horses? Or you don't fucking care about it. You can completely train a horse by not speaking. Maybe you overlay words, but it's tactile communication. Pulling on the reins is whoa. Spurs on the flanks is go. Pressure on your legs. My wife raised barrel horses for many years. I started at actually my first love was horses. But tactile communication is crucial about how it's gestural communication, it's how body language. So let's say, for example, I'm back in the fucking late 80s, early 90s, and I have a choke chain on the dog. He's standing next to me, all four. And I go down, and I yank up on the choke chain. What does the animal do? Sits. Because the tactile communication will always, 100% of the time, override your verbal. Tactile, went up, push the heads up, push the ass down. It overrides the verbal always. So tactile communication is crucial. Electronic training is completely tactile communication. Aversive, it's the ham sandwich example I gave you. It's high unpleasant stim. When we talk about aversive training, I can stop him from eating the ham sandwich. I don't give a fuck if he does a million other behaviors. Roll over, scratch his ass, go chew something else up. but the target behavior was, the target unwanted behavior was neutralized. I don't give a shit what they do after. Go back to the horses too. You have a 1,200-pound creature that could snap a wood board fence like a toothpick. What do? You run a hot wire along the top. Just say, hey, fucking Mr. Ed, keep your neck out from the shit on the other side. He hits the wire, he flies back. Nobody says, that Mr. Ed. He learns from his own self-discovery. Whoa, fuck that lettuce over there. I'll be chilling over here nibbling on the round bale that this fucker gave me. So aversive control is stopping unwanted behavior, and they can go into any other bullshit behavior that they want. Where correction is a stimulation that changes the dog's behavior that is left to control or commanded behavior, sit down, stand, track, whatever it may be. They've gotten off course. The correction must put them back into the position that they were commanded to be. So there's rules with that. They must go back into the behavior. If they don't go back into the behavior, you have two options. Either your correction goes up, or you go back to the drawing board because your training's not clear to the animal. Punishment is the aversive. It's the adding of something unpleasant that the dog receives and perceives as an imposition. Successive approximation, for me, is a very valuable tool in the shaping and teaching world, which simply means we're reinforcing, we're rewarding the small good intentions and effort of the dog. We're going to talk a lot about compartmentalization and chunking, which simply means we're linking behaviors together. Many times we go out and try to make the dog perform a full exercise, a full routine, when the pieces aren't clear to the animal. So with successive approximation, it allows me to make these bridges, to build these little gaps slowly with the animal so he understands the process. For example, I use a click and release system for protection. When the dog goes into odor, comes back to me for reward. Now let's say we're in the early stages, the dog's only worked on boxes, now we want to introduce a high height. So maybe we've gone too far, maybe we've gone from shin height to like shoulder height in a high cabin or something. So the dog goes back, their memories are brilliant, but they go back to where they've been paid before. The dog says there's nothing here, but he's starting to hit the threshold of detection of entering a zone where the odor's available. He says it's coming from a different place. As he starts to scan a little bit higher, he raises his chin, and he's 10 feet from the target odor. Comes to me to get paid. And my dogs know a click release system, which we're going to talk a little bit more here as we get in. But as soon as they get paid, they fly back into the behavior. They start hunting again to get the payment again. Now I push him a little further. Now head goes up 8 feet. Comes to me. Little by little, I'm teaching him, try harder, keep going, keep going. And then when he gets to the target odor, jackpot, he gets everything, training's over. So successive approximation is a very, very valuable tool. If you're doing a direct reward system with no marker training, you're not saying verbal yes, you're not clicking, you're simply delivering the toy. When the dog goes into the target behavior, it has a lot of room for problems. The dogs are hyper-vigilant about what's going on in their environment. They're analyzing you like a motherfucker. They're analyzing their environment. Why? To find their advantage. There's that word again. They're cheaters. They're going to find the path of least resistance to get what they want. They are manipulators. I broke my wife's heart when I explained this shit to her. She's like, oh, I just love her piece of this. They're fucking working. Not cool with that deal. My ex-wife explained that shit to me, we'd be cool. But anyway, so I understand this relationship, I understand how the dogs work. So if they go to a target behavior and I have no marker system, I'm throwing the toy, what happens when you throw a palm in the air? It makes noise, that little hole fucking makes a whistling noise. The tug, the straps flap, your tennis ball, they hear that shit, they turn around, or you hit them in the back of the head, you're fucked. You're fucked. We're going to talk about markers and clear communication. Is anybody not using marker training? A little bit. So for me, you're already probably doing it in ways, you're just not aware. So what a marker is, it stamps in the animal's brain that they achieve the target behavior. My clicker, when I say yes, it travels at the speed of sound. We know that timing is crucial in animal training. You have within a 1.5 second window of time to create association. The ham sandwich, it must happen in the middle. It must happen when the behavior, unwanted behavior is happening. And that's why we use clickers or markers, because through Pavlovian association, we're going to talk more about that we stamp it in the animal's brain, bingo, you hit the target. And it doesn't, if a fat ass like me can't remember where the fuck I put his toy, it doesn't matter. because I've already stamped, I've already marked in his brain, you hit it. However long it takes me to deliver the toy is irrelevant. So I overlay clickers and verbal markers as well. Operant conditioning. This is, spent a week on this shit. It's heavy. Some fucking turbo nerd geek somewhere along the line took what we're doing and made it fucking difficult for the dying like me. These weird words, these weird shit. Forget this bullshit. You have to put in your brain that positive is the addition, adding. Negative is subtracting. Keep it very simple. There's two quadrants that create behavior, that make behavior come more frequently. There's two quadrants that stop behavior by adding and subtracting reward or punishment. Positive reinforcement, or positive, or adding. A reinforcer, which means to create the behavior, to reinforce, to make behavior come. Or adding something the dog perceives that he loves. Not a scratch on the ass, not a, hey, good boy. No, it is giving something tangible the dog perceives as valuable, highly valuable, food or toy. Or be released to a decoy. You have positive punishment, which is positive. What the fuck is positive about punishing unless you're a sadomasochistic motherfucker? What are you into? Choking, gagging, what the fuck? No, positive is the addition of punishment to stop behavior, to make behavior come less frequent. Very fucking worried. I don't know who the fuck did that, but it's confusing as shit. Negative reinforcement we've discussed. It's taking away slightly unpleasant feelings which happen before the behavior. The seatbelt happens before the target behavior. As soon as I click, the dumb shit stops. Negative punishment is this lonely little quadrant over here that sits by itself. Is probably the most unused quadrant in the spectrum here. Now, Kendall put out a question the other day about, really good, I didn't have a chance, we've been here, I haven't had a chance to respond to it, but it was about, what do you think is the most overlooked, most used, most misused, most overlooked? For me, negative punishment. It's the removing negative, there it is, removing something the dog perceives that they love to cause punishment. What are you saying? It means, and I use it in bite work, the negative punishment slide's coming up, but it's in bite work, I use a leather pillow. If we're always trying to promote biting, we want dogs to push, I use a device or a surface that they cannot bite. There's no dog in here that can't keep it. I will pull it away from every dog. This is an example of NePoPo. I'm going to let it play, then we'll talk about it. So the dog must push me with attention. I bring out the e-collar, look what happens. He becomes a fucking psycho. I explain to you how to create that. Low stim stops, he finds my leg, mark and pay. I ask for more. He's mesmerized by it, like he's looking in the fucking crystal ball of life. It's an exercise for sport. I want him to keep his eyes on the helper later and find my leg. I'm working further and further away from him. Holy shit, that noise is loud. Alright, fuck. So what's happening there? Again, negative reinforcement. He feels low stem. He finds my leg, stem stop. First positive, second positive, click, click, go get your paycheck. Why do you think I'm using my hand on the outside of his rib cage to create this behavior?
Question.
Or it's helping for sure. Absolutely. With tactile communication, I'm helping him, but I'm also feeling his muscle tremors. Because he's fucking mesmerized by this crystal ball. He's rigid. When I'm stem, I'm using, instead of least pressure, it's tactile pressure from my hand. When he submits, when he gives into my hand, stem stops, I pay him. Then he learns that the coupling of my hand and the stimulation makes him get in position to get paid. And then I start decreasing my help. I want to feel when he releases, when he gives into the desired behavior. It's the horse training. It's very, in the beginning, you're trying to teach a left turn with a horse. It's pressure on the left rein. As soon as the horse turns, you let go. And he goes, fuck, when I go with a leash, pressure, the harmony comes back. The unpleasant feelings stop. So later I can use a healing stick, a wooden dowel, or I can remain upright. But you see in this one session, the animal starts to piece this together. I've done some shit with food to make this behavior, but he learned most of this in this one session because he understands the system. Another example of negative reinforcement that started a Facebook site. He's simply a dumb fucking husky. Anybody ever train huskies in here? Own huskies? Ooh, fuck. You own one? Train them? Talk about making your money, earning your money. They're a different creature, man. They're bizarre, but I'll let it play. You can't hear the tone, but you can see the red light on the collar. It's vibration. In this exercise, he's simply learning to shut vibration off by going to place. And this started a Facebook fight, and you'll see in a couple repetitions, the dog says, starts looking around the floor, says, fuck, what is that feeling? And people are saying he's in conflict, he's stressed. No, motherfucker, he's just trying to figure this shit out. Ears up, tails up, they're like, he's stressed. You know? He's wondering why the fucking earth is rumbling, because it's vibration. Oh, fuck, I just did 5 reps, let me go back. That's a husky. Do 3 reps great, 3 reps of shit. And the door to my little shed is wide open. This is my human Skinner box. I'm going to talk about B.F. Skinner and his contribution to animal behavior right there. But ears up, no conflict, no problem. And then people are saying, how the fuck is he going to know to come to you with vibration? It's contextual. If I remove the little place box from my shed and I hit vibrate, he can fly to me. He's been educated on how to shut off low, annoying feelings by doing behaviors he's been taught. Now we get into negative punishment. My favorite quadrant. We'll let it play and we'll talk. The slick leather pillow, the dog's on a back tie. And I use a leash to create distance. It also gives me the ability to snatch that shit from him if I want to. Like that. I immediately put the dog away. There is no fucking seconds. There's no second chance. How about it? You don't bite, you lose. Take away something the dog perceives as valuable to punish them for unwanted behavior. The unwanted behavior is loose, shitty gripping. Go back, fucker. What normally do you see? Bullshit. There's no education. You snooze, you lose. And I bring it back out 10 or 15 minutes later, try again. I got people that drive 3 or 4 hours for me to do bike. It's a shitty feeling to say, come on. Like this. They can hang that leather pillow like that, they're fucking biting. Everything their DNA has. The second I feel that grip boosting, I'll take it. And then it started a Facebook fight too. Why are you fucking rewarding them being quiet? I'll explain that in a second. Now I can't get it from the little fish. It's cool as shit. They're a little bit more calm now. I'll work them all day. 10, 15 minutes. And if they can hear other bite work going on, even better. Torture those fuckers while they're riding. That's what it looks like. So in nature, when a wolf is pursuing the rabbit, and the wolf zigs and rabbit zags, the negative punishment is the fucking belly stays empty. There are no suicide bunnies in nature that say, oh, big bad wolf, I feel bad, fucking eat me. So in my training, I always think about what is the animal perceiving and what do the instincts say to the animal in the middle of that exercise. You see it all over the place on Facebook. The dog shit, the grip gets shit. What do? They decrease the criteria. They put the dog on the ground and they shove it in their fucking mouth, suicide bunny. What does the dog learn? Nothing. It learns that my shitty behavior gets me room service. Weakness wins. Fuck that. Make them work. And when you tap into that negative punishment, it is a very, very powerful tool to educate them through their instinct about how to do better. The next time the wolf sees that fucking rabbit, he's going to change his tactics. He's going to up his game because it's survival. It's deep. These are manufactured games that we play based off on a predatory instinct. Classical conditioning. Yes, sir. It doesn't go down. They get frustrated. They get pissed. So, what do you mean? Explain. Yep.
That you were showing that two of the squares will have the behavior on that one will decrease.
Yep.
Negative punishment, the behavior will go down. Will you know way?
Well, the behavior, if I'm understanding you, the behavior, because we're punishing, we're taking away something they have value. The punishment is, the consequence is that they lose that opportunity to fight. The wolf in nature loses the opportunity to survive by eating. So that's where the punishment is, by removing something from the environment that the animal truly loves or needs to live. That will, but it does a little bit this is where it gets a little cloudy, because it is to produce a better behavior, but you're in that moment you're punishing the wrong behavior, the wrong choice. They're not fighting with everything they have. Does that make sense a little bit? And that's why the quadrants are very confusing, man. And sometimes they bleed together. So if let's say I'm using negative punishment, and I'm removing food from the animal, and then I add it the next repetition, they go like quick, they bleed together, and sometimes it's really clouded. And a lot of the shit you're already doing is just some geek put it into terms that make us fucking confused. So, the classical conditioning. Ivan Pavlov, great contribution to the animal behavior. We know he did ringing the bell, fed the dogs. Ring the bell, fed the dogs. And then one day he rings the bell with no food. It creates a physiological response of salivation, drooling, because the noise has already erupted the dog's his necessity to eat by producing saliva with no food present. So that was the birth of associative learning, that we can create signs and signals that can take the power on of another stimulus. So what simply classical conditioning is, it's the pairing of signals. Now, this is where we always think it's verbal or it's audible. It's a clicker, it's a verbal conversation, it's a yes, it's a mark. But the signals can be any of the senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. We can create associations with all of those. So the animal has value. So what do you mean by touch? Well, when I charge my electronics, I charge it the same exact way I charge a clicker. We're going to talk more about e-collar later. But when I bring a dog, let's say I bring a pet dog into my training, he has no drive for toys. Feed. 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 Oh, very low. It's a tickle. Maybe they can't even feel it. But I'm convinced their senses are so acute. They're way more hypersensitive than we are. I believe they can hear that shit in their neck spinning around the electronics. I believe they can smell the fucking electronics. And for sure they can feel it on way lower levels. So I charge a stimulation like a clicker. That's a tactile feeling associated with food. And to understand classical conditioning, the new, unfamiliar, unknown signal must come before the known cue to give it value. The known cue in that last scenario I gave was stimming and feeding, is the food is known. He smells it, they eat it. It's existential, which I'm explaining now here too. Is that the stim means nothing to them if they've never had the collar on. Food. Food. Then now it takes the same power on. So in theory, I could stimulate the dog who's done that system, and I can start drooling with no food around, because now that stim has created the same connection with the food. So it must come within 1.5 seconds to create that association. That's not a lot of time. That's why we use markers, to create that speed of sound moment where the dog is imprinted that he knows they fit the target behavior. So already talked a little bit about how to charge, but what simply is a marker, it's a bridge in time between the behavior occurring and distributing a reward, right? Well, this is something we've stolen from dolphin training. Now, if anybody's, you ever seen that movie Blackfish? Anybody? Check it out, it's the dark side of business now. When I was a kid, I always used to think that SeaWorld in Orlando, you had to be, like the wetsuits they wore was like fucking Superman's cape. Like they were just magic shit. Like they were just born into the system. They had this magical connection with dolphins. But as I started training animals, I realized bullshit. It's a hostage situation. It's a complete manipulation environment. You take Flipper from its natural habitat, which is an ocean full of predators, full of prey. There's shit that he eats, and there's shit that eats him. It's a kill or be killed world. The dolphin by nature is a very charismatic creature. They're fucking full of energy, full of ignition, things we're gonna talk about more. But they're all about shit. They may fuck around with humans in nature. They may swim next to people's boats, but they would never connect with the human the way they do in SeaWorld. Why? They don't fucking need them to live. There's nothing the human has to offer them but slightly entertaining in the moment. They remove them from that natural habitat, and what do? Plunk. They put them into a fucking aquarium. Well, there's nothing going on. There's no other things that he can eat. There's nothing else that can eat him. It's a very small environment. It's not millions of miles of ocean. But the animal is fueled by what? Hunger and boredom. There's nothing going on. He's fucking starving. Right? So, what happens one day? Well, the Superman cape comes out in a wetsuit with a 5-gallon bucket of mackerel, which is crack cocaine to the crack addict. That fucking dolphin, if he could hop up out of the water and fucking kick the trainer's ass and take his food and fucking rob him, he would. But he cannot, because he has no fucking legs and arms. He's in a fucking pool. So how do we connect with this creature? How do we later get him to do triple flips on cue in front of a crowd of screaming people? And again, these shows start at a certain time. These people want their fucking money's worth. How do we get that shit? How does that happen? Well, we have to have a signal that means something valuable to the animal. So when the trainer comes out to the edge of the pool, the dolphin's like, what the fucking world's upside down, and catches a whiff of that crack cocaine. So he comes in the direction of the dolphin trainer. It's not flipping, it's not spinning. It is simply engaging in an activation, ignition. There's something in my environment I need desperately to live. Not a scratch in the back with your fucking tug. I need this to survive. The trainer comes out, they use a whistle, not a clicker. The whistle can penetrate through the water. It can hear in a crowded stadium, so it has much more value as far as it travels the noise. 2, and he dumps, within 1.5 seconds, dumps the whole fucking bucket in the water. He eats it like a fucking crazed piranha. Swims away, deuces, fuck off, trainer, I don't need you anymore, my belly's full. Well, what happens? It's a consumable good, which means he's gonna shit it out, his stomach's gonna be empty, he's gonna need that again. Same bat time, same bat channel next day, trainer comes out to the edge, engagement, 2, 1.5 seconds, here comes the bucket. This shit happens day in, day out, a couple of weeks. It takes a lot of time to charge your markers. If you've never done marker training, and you simply start saying yes and chuck your toy, yes, chuck your toy, and you're training 1 day a week at mandatory training, it's not going to evolve so quickly. If you simply you take this moment, you harness it, you use a lot of repetitions, it's day in, day. It takes a long time to charge markers, but the dolphin is piecing together the whistle, fills my belly to survive. It's got high value, he's fucking paying attention, he's literally a captive audience, he's there. Now what happens? How do we advance through behavior? Well, simply what happens, the trainer comes out to the edge of the pool and changes the criteria. Now the dolphin comes in, he's there waiting for this fucker. It's the right time, he's got his bib, night before, he's saying, fuck it, let me have it. And the trainer comes to the edge of the pool and does nothing. Sits there like a statue, dead. So what's he gonna do? He's not gonna fucking pout, say, fuck you, man, I'm gonna play your game and go fucking to the edge of the bottom of the pool and give the finger. What happens in nature when animals fucking don't get what they want? Frustration, spontaneous aggression, activation, movement, ignition, which we're going to talk about here more. In that movie, The Blackfish, the fucking lady gets killed by a marker she had a relationship. Why? Because she withheld or used negative punishment. She says wrong behavior. He says, motherfucker, you became a meal. You can get some of these dogs, man. I got a dog in right now. He's not aggressive, but he's a fucking savage, bro. I use a big pouch, like a Home Depot, like a tool pouch. Head and feet. And this motherfucker trying to rob me. I love it. I want them pushy as fuck. But now the dolphin's pissed. Whoa. So any other behavior, we're not talking about jumping through hoops, waving to the crowd, none of this, we're not looking for any behavior, we're looking for his activation. So maybe he fucking slaps the water with his fin because he's pissed. He makes an audible expression because he's pissed. Any other behavior other than begging will get a toot and one fish. He grabs that fish and he's like, you motherfucker, where's the rest of that bucket? What happens again? More spontaneous behavior. Toot, one fish. Does something else. Toot, one fish. And then, because again, the dolphin's a charismatic, very intelligent creature, full of ignition on its own, it starts to realize that, fuck, every time I move and do some shit, dum-dum reaches into the bucket and fucking pays me. And then the dolphin does something spectacular. Maybe he goes, I get this, give me more. He jumps a little higher. Toot, whole bucket. So then the fucking dolphin says, whoa, I can control this motherfucker with my behavior. And if I do better and try harder, I get the fucking jackpot. I win the lottery. I got this system. I am the creator of my own reward system. I own this fucker. Now the science of creating target behaviors is a whole other conversation. They create a lure to a stick with a little foam pad at the end. They make the dolphin touch it, toot, fish. And then they learn to follow it with the lure system. But they create little chutes. Yeah, they just create an environment, they squeeze the dolphin's behavior, that's a whole other story, but they creating the ignition of the dolphin wanting and understanding his behavior has consequences for doing and not doing. The dolphin says, fuck off, we leave. So, I've never trained dolphins, I'm piecing this together, I've seen it, I've seen the show. So I was speaking at a seminar in New Jersey, and the chick says, you're full of shit. I go, yeah, let's talk. So she actually trained dolphins, not at SeaWorld, but another facility. And she had a lot to add to it. They're so fucking smart that the bucket that they use is metal, and they have ice at the bottom of the bucket to keep the fish fresh as they're asking for more and more behavior. She said the dolphins were so fucking smart, and they protest, their little attitudes. When they'd hear you fishing at the bottom of the barrel, to hear the ice making noise, because you're down to the last fish, they'd say, fuck off, I'm out there. I'm in control. That's that type of creature. I was blown away. And she was telling me how good lives they live. I go, yeah. I said, if you open the fucking door, let them back out to the Atlantic, you think they'd dip? Yeah, they would. So she talked about the enrichment environment and some bullshit. But that was something cool I got from that. Okay. We're at. As part of NePoPo, there are two schools. There's a silver school that is a week long with 100% theoretical know-how. There's a 100 question test, and you must get a 90 percentile to pass the test. It's not easy, bottom line. You have to earn it. Not like online certifications that are bullshit. You have to earn it. I am condensing 10 pounds of shit to a 5-pound bag for you, and it's confusing as fuck. But in a week, that's what you get. So you go through the silver school, you pass, you come back a month later, you have the time to process and apply. You come back for gold school, where you have a dog and you put things into motion that you've been taught. Part of our curriculum is there's required reading and required movies. One of them is a book called The Talent Code. It's authored by Daniel Cole. It's very scientific shit, but it speaks about the basis of the book is talent learned or is it God-given? Now, when we talk about talent, I'm talking about how we train the dog, but I'm also talking about defensive tactics, shooting, hitting a baseball, shooting a basketball. Whatever it may be, riding a bicycle, skills development. And the book speaks about, and the book's argument is that, of course, there's people with God-given talent. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, these people that are just gifted. But the book's argument is that talent is learned through 3 processes, 3 stages. One is ignition, the second is deep practice, and the third is master coaching. And we're going to talk about this. The book talks about the science and physiological effects of how muscle memory is obtained through myelination of wrapping neurons and not in the book, way over my head. But if you're into that science geek shit, which I would love to be, I just can't wrap my head around it, but it talks about how this actually occurs, how muscle memory actually occurs through the 3 processes we're going to talk about. Ignition, by my definition and how it makes sense to me, is proactive, coming from within, meaning it's initiated by the student, the creature, or whatever it may be. Purposeful, task-driven energy and activation coming from within the dog, not induced by the handler or the decoy. right? So if you notice back in the negative punishment slide, I'm standing there like a dum-dum with a pillow over my shoulder. I am making the dog activate me. I am not doing all kinds of stimulus shit to make the dog reactive to my behavior, to make them come with aggression, with barking, with biting. It must come from within the animal. In my handling as an obedience, I'm not sitting there begging the dog to take my food, take my toy, please, please, please. The dog must push me to give him the things that he needs. Is the dolphin trainer jumping up and down with a bucket of mackerel? No, there's ignition. There's purposeful drive and energy coming from within the animal to manipulate the trainer. So active aggression is something crucial that I see. It's a huge missing gap in bite development with dogs. I see it all over the place. They come out to a training field, the decoy's jumping around, cracking the whip, stimulating the dog to come up and drive, and then they reward the dog. And then one day they go to the street where the fucking guy's possummed up, not activating the dog. The dog goes, not because of nerves or he's a weak dog, he just says, "You're doing it wrong, fucker. Dad, go get him." So active aggression, I have a philosophy I have called Boogeyman that teaches about this shit. We can't get into it today, but again, it's coming from within. The activation, the ignition from the animal must produce the behavior, must activate the decoy, must activate me as a handler. If you notice in that big donkey where I was leaning over and touching him to make him come find my leg, what was I doing in the beginning of the slide? Standing there doing nothing. He knows he must come to me and fucking glare at me with his eyes burning to say, "Fucker, do it. Get that shit out of your pocket." He's activating me. Then I bring the e-collar, comes out, and he becomes a fucking savage. We're going to talk more about how to create this. Ignition is crucial. We see sometimes what causes ignition. What ignited the dolphin is the existential food. We see in humans and people that have made, become elite athletes or soared to their level of academia or business. What motivated them? What got them fired up? There's a book called "You Can't Hurt Me" by a Navy SEAL called David Goggins. You read that? You might have to grab that shit. I can't read for shit, but I get audiobooks. So for me, my ignition was, I grew up in fucking chaos. I was born into violence. Fucking old man was drunk. So for me, people were fucked. I went to sports and animals. That's where I dove in to dedicate my energy to. That was my ignition, to learn about animals, to learn about baseball at the time. But for the animals, a lot of times what we do is we rob them of their natural instincts by giving them room service, not connecting with their instinctual needs, making that fire, making that ignition very, very important. You cannot move forward until the animal is all about it. For example, Bart taught me this, like many other things. Came to a seminar early on. I had my second patrol dog. No, it was later. I had trained with Bart. It was probably like 09, 010, or 2010. I come out to a training field. Bart was doing a seminar. My dog's looking for someone to bite. We're only doing obedience. So what do? I pop the ball out. He's staring at the crowd. Where the fuck's the decoy? I have to show him the ball. "Come on, buddy, take my ball. We're doing obedience." He takes the ball. I said, "Okay, we're doing obedience." Bart says, "Put on the brakes." What did I just educate him? What just happened in that moment? I rewarded him for giving me the finger. The ball came out for bullshit behavior. And what is he going to do next time? More bullshit behavior, because either I get to bite somebody or fuckface will give me the ball as an appetizer. So no, the dog must come to you and push you. This is so crucial. I see it everywhere I go. And it's such a small little change, but it means the world. The dog must bring the ignition to the table. And it's not just running around like a crazy fucking savage. It's purposeful. It's got task-driven desire. It's the skills development. We can apply it again to humans or to dogs. And how do we create that? Like I said, I just said, with existential food training. Is anybody here using food in their training? Well, probably a third. It is a very, very powerful tool. And it's taboo from people that have been around 15, 20, 20 plus years. It's fucking taboo. You're a bitch if you use food. To me, it is so fucking powerful. Again, it's existential. There's no free shit. That little a water dog, a little brown, little fuzzy thing again, never got a free meal in their life. Eric and I just did a podcast to get into this. It's going to be out next month probably, but it's a very deep topic to me. I have a lawsuit against my former agency because I fucking starved dogs and almost killed them. They did it wrong. My dogs will gain weight in existential training. You have to distribute the food the right way. It's a whole other topic, but it's so fucking powerful. Especially in early training, you get these high-speed dogs that come in from a vendor that have been loaded their whole lives. You want to train with a toy? The toy puts them in orbit. They can't think. They can't wrap their mind around the exercise because they're in such a high state of drive. And then once they get the toy, You have to out the toy. You have to repeat the exercise. Hank, man, where you guys are from, Jason, it's fucking 100 degrees with 100% humidity. How many repetitions can you do with a toy if you're training outside in South Florida? No, 4 or 5, you're fucking smoked. And these dogs coming from Europe that have never felt that fucking heat in their lives, you're not getting shit. Food, you get a shit ton of repetitions. The reward history is heavy. Over and over, you're getting a shit ton of reps. And there's no conflict with outing. The only outing with food is that he's gonna shit your yard later. It's gonna come out of his ass. That's it. So, but it also, when they're training existentially, there's motivation. That dolphin will fucking kill that thing if he could. There's high level motivation, but the concentration to acquire food is deeper. They're not hysterical. But that one dog I got in right now is pretty motivated. Then, of course, we talk about the jackpot. If the dolphin does a magical behavior, the whole bucket comes. Well, what happens, we call this the gambler theory, the gambler idea. So my wife and I went out to Vegas. I've been a couple times. I don't drink, I don't gamble, but we're hillbillies. My wife was a barrel racer for many years. So we went out to the national final rodeo. Cool shit. Those are real athletes. Those motherfuckers, if they don't fucking win, they don't. It's not like these multi-million-dollar guaranteed fucking contracts. Those are athletes. So anyway, we walked through the casinos just to get to A to B, just to see it. And fucking that gambling addiction is heavy, man. That's a fucking whole lifestyle, man. That's crazy. Obese motherfuckers with like walls of Dunkin' Donuts boxes and shit, they're camped the fuck out, right? They're pulling those levers, hitting those slots, wait for that magic 777 or whatever the fuck it is for the big jackpot to come. So while they're pulling the levers over and over, there's hope and anticipation and they're activated. Boom, boom, that's the only cardio these fuckers are doing, trust me. Just pulling those levers over and over. And then what happens? Ooh, the big jackpot comes, there's this big spike of dopamine, which is the happy hormone. Produce those chemicals, comes. They get the jackpot, and then what? Fuck, their life's over. Let's pull the levers again. So where is the juice? Is it in the jackpot? Is it in the big payday? Or is it fucking pulling the levers? The highest level of training becomes when the behavior itself is so fulfilling, they don't fucking need the reward. Don't need it. It's mind-blowing shit. Not every dog can get there. Some are whores that need that fucking paycheck no matter what they do. But I had a little Dutch Shepherd back many years ago when I first came out to Florida. They would reward her in detection in boxes. She'd get the ball, she'd run back to the box, spit the ball up, and stare at the box. Just like a little dog smelling piss and euphoria just for sniffing. Anybody a bloodhound handler in here? Yeah, those fucking creatures, man. Where's the motivation? It's in the sniff of it. Huffing shit is the fucking euphoric desire. And that's what's hard for me, man. Is the reward system for bloodhounds is hugs and scratches bellies. Oh, you're a fucking good dog, right? We had bloodhounds that fucking assholes. They'd go fucking, remember one guy in trouble, he went to fucking Dunkin' Donuts, the lady wanted to see the dog, and he fucking bit her. They're pricks. They're pricks. So their reward system is something they don't give a fuck about. Fuck you, I'm not gonna put my nose down in 100-degree heat in the fucking hood for a scratch in the belly. It's because the sniffing behavior is so fulfilling. That's why God created them, to sniff shit. That's the highest level of training we can get there. For sure. So now we get to the second phase of practice, the ignition. Now we've got fire. God talks about it. David Goggins talks about in that book, it's an obsession. It's not motivation. Motivation's for bitches. It's like this deep fucking obsession. Now we get into deep practice. We have the fire. Now we must put it into work to create talent, to create exercises, to create muscle memory. Deep practice is working on the fringes of your ability. You're right on the edge of where you're going to fuck up, and it's mistake-driven exercises. You fuck up, you feel it. You do it again, you try harder, you fail better. Boom, fail again, you try harder. And then you figure it out. When you get into that realm of training, once you figure it out, you have that aha moment, it's magical. Then it's buried into your database. It's buried in your DNA. You've got it. You have muscle memory. You can go repeat that behavior the next day just where you are. And then you change the criteria to advance. You systematically advance through each exercise. Whether it's human skill or whether it's teaching a dog a behavior. You have to make them frustrated. And once they figure out their advantage, once they figure out the target exercise, it becomes the gospel to them. It's soaked in. They got it. One of the most beneficial components of deep practice is what we call chunking and compartmentalization. It's breaking down behaviors into micro exercises, micro behaviors, very, very small components, so the animal can build systematically to learn to complete exercise, whether it's target pointing and detection, final train, final response, tracking, obedience, whatever the target behavior is, you must break the exercise down into micro components. Once upon a time, I played baseball. When I was a kid, I had a coach when I was about 14, 15, eccentric motherfucker. Everybody thought he was a quack. He was ahead of his time with this type of training. He taught me compartmentalization, of breaking down exercises into small components. Through hitting, he taught me that hitting starts with your feet, with your toes touching the ground. How to put pressure on your toes to leverage your body throughout the swing. You start with the toes, the feet, the ankles, shin, knees, and work my way out to the hands coming through the strike zone. He broke it down into micro behaviors. And we obsessively repeated those behaviors over and over until we pieced them together. The bat comes through the strike zone, striking the ball. Whatever exercise, pitching, hitting, catching, whatever it may be, we broke that down. And I stole that philosophy of compartmentalization and put it into my dog training just by accident. Just is what I do. I'm a training geek, and that's just what I do. And now the talent code put it into articulation and why it makes sense. So making those mistakes, it creates that aha moment. Finally, the violinists, when they're practicing the violin and they hit that wrong chord, it physically hurts their ear. Let me try harder. Again, you have the ignition, the want, you keep working, you make the mistakes, boom, and then you get it. You finally have it. It's that aha moment. And science tells us it takes between 4,000 to 6,000 repetitions to create a learned behavior. How many times you've thrown the ball? That's a lot of fucking ball work. So with kibble and food, I'm chipping away at those reps way, way faster to create muscle memory. And what the talent code talks about is myelination. Impulse control is something about the dog wants a toy. He wants to tug, he wants to fight, but he must do another behavior to come get that. So what you notice is the target behavior here is he must release the toy and come over to a 3-sided box. And the goal, the target behavior is he must have all 4 paws in the box and bark with good rhythm, good cadence, and good pitch. Wah, wah, wah. Sport bullshit. Nothing you would need in the law enforcement, but behavior is behavior. You'll see him, 1 paw will be out, no reward. 2 paws in, reward. Then 2 paws in, shitty barking, no reward. 2 paws in, good barking, reward. And he starts to get this faster and faster and faster. With no help. He figures it out on his own. He's struggling. 1 paw, 2 paws, nothing. Boom, got it. Just for 2 barks, paycheck. Success. I'm not asking for 10 barks right away. Good. 3 or 4 barks that time with all 4 paws in the box. That time faster. All paws in. Boom, he gets it. Deep practice, struggle. Then he finds the answer. The behavior becomes quicker and quicker. Impulse, of course, he gets out of the box. That's the idea of deep practice. So many times we're helping. The dog must struggle. It's going to look like shit for a while. We're scared to go there. When it looks like shit, that's where the behavior starts to really unfold in the animal's brain. Conflict management. Again, for me, systems, detection systems that try to create trickery and trick the animal to believe that the toy is going to pop out of source, there's a lot of margin for error there. I want the animal to know, I have your shit, motherfucker. You want it? Go sniff shit. And stay there until I tell you to come get your shit. Conflict management. And it's not done with, wow, the dog's running all over crazy. It's done with 1 box. Here's your toy, fuckface. Look at this prick in my box. Fucking ate the rubber. So your toy, the prize is right there. No help. I use opposition reflex to try and pull him out. He gets it, he stays there. That ball is God for him. No help. Ball stays there. You don't get shit until you do the target behavior. Nothing changes, motherfucker. I mean, keep fucking with your ball. See the piece of rubber on the floor? Oh. And this is deep practice is struggling for him to find. He goes, fuck you and your ball and your bullshit. I know what I gotta do. Boom. In one session. This is more conflict management, human remains dog, female shepherd, about 18 months old. This is my partner Mike. He's got food-based training, so it's a box with two holes, one here, one on the outside. Dog's nose goes in, we feed from the outside. What we're progressing to very early on, we add our conflicts very early to create that deep practice in the struggle, because later your contaminants, your distracting odors, your distracting noises, the shit that's going on in the real world is fucking actually becomes a cue. Keep doing. So this is where it starts. Saying, take my shit. He starts to whistle, he starts to make noise. I know you got my shit, but this is obedience to odor. Do the task, and then you get paid. So we're still using direct system here. The reward comes on source. Later we do a mark and release. We do that in the beginning to create the idea, create the picture, and then I go later reward away from source. See, if he's not, she pushed, he said, fuck you, I'm staying on odor. We mark those behaviors and reward. Some other magical shit about marker training, man, is I can mark the dog sniffing. You can't do that with a thrown toy. By the time she sniffs and that toy comes from 10 feet, 15 feet away, the behavior's changed. What is detection? It is sniffing shit. I want to mark in the dog's brain that sniffing brings you the good feelings. That's how this motherfucker, I can't throw him off piss. He invented that. I want to create the same thing. I have a little video I put on Facebook. I actually shared it yesterday. It came up in my memories. I'm marking the actual olfactory intake. That's the beauty and the luxury of marker training. So for me, just like a little conflict management with a pit bull, is I like to teach in low drive. We always want the dog a little crazy and flashy. Speed and flash comes with clarity. The dog understands that they are clear on the exercise, but again, continuing with the heart and soul. That shit brings the fire. Training where I show the picture, just like the female, the human remains, we show the picture, and then we start moving away from the source and start creating different pictures. And the dog reverse engineers, so they back chain back to the target exercise. So NePoPo has evolved over the years. What time was it? Yeah, 10 o'clock, right? Many years ago, NePoPo was just simply pressure stops, overlay with a second positive. Several years ago, and from what I understand, it was Michael McClellan's idea. Bart fought a little bit, but they got into free shaping. Dolphin training is mostly free shaping with it. It's spontaneous. It takes a long, long time. But again, it's powerful because it's the animal's idea. We talk about deep, deep learning. The animal creates their own environment for reward and avoiding consequences. It's powerful. There's advantages to luring, which is creating a magnetic attraction to your hand, existential reward. You keep the animal glued to your hand, you put them in positions, healing, sit, stand down, whatever it may be. The animal follows the reward, and the reward, the position of the reward creates the behavior. The problem with luring is that the behavior must produce the reward as quick as possible. You show the picture, when the dog starts offering, he starts to anticipate what you're asking, and you start disconnecting your health. Luring is extremely powerful. It creates the illusion that the behavior is happening immediately, fast results. We are type A's, Americans are impatient people, we want shit right now, right here. It looks pretty, but how do you fade your health out of the situation? How do you get to that first video with Bart where he's a fucking statue and the dog is lying? That dog was trained with a lure system, and then later with some free shaping. You have to be a ninja, a master magician, to be able to understand how to do it. Very, very powerful. The problem with free shaping is it takes a long fucking time, on the clock. Pet trainers, people that are in law enforcement, your agencies are saying, get the fuck back on the road, we're short. So it's hard. So I personally do a lure system where I back chain, I show the picture, and then I start fading my health out very quickly. When you have ignition, the dog will figure it out. You just have to be patient. So there's advantages and disadvantages to each of both ways. So a little bit of chart, it just tells you, it breaks down the advantages and disadvantages to luring direct reward, which again comes from me or at source, versus indirect, like Bart was. All out front, dog looking at him, healing both sides, doing all kinds of shit, and he releases to go get the ball. That's indirect. The paycheck is away from the handler. So there's many, many components of NePoPo. We have a little chat group that we have on Facebook, and as I'm building this PowerPoint, I put out to the groups. I always like to see back and say, hey, what is your favorite component about NePoPo? Many of the people like the learning pyramid. It's about how we're going through deep practice, how we're creating behavior, how we're getting to the bottom of the very beginning of teaching is at the lowest pyramid level, is that there's always help. We're showing the dog, teaching the dog repetition, repetition. The second tier is variable reward, not so much help. We're fading our help out of the process, and then we get to that stage where Bart was at in that video with no help. So no help is competition day, sport competitors, or it's certification day for all of their law enforcement. Or it's the street, where you're out behind your dog trusting him. Everything must come together. So just a little grid here that kind of puts it into a visual perspective. At the very bottom, again, no help. There's stim, leash pressure. We're helping the dog through every behavior. Second level is intermittent. Variable reward is powerful. That second stage is very powerful. We're not getting rewarded for every single behavior. Now, we go back in time, we think that if we don't pay for every single behavior, that the dog's going to say, fuck off, I'm not doing it. Variable reward creates a mystery. When the dogs have ignition, they're taught in this system, and you create a variable reward environment, they don't know when it's coming. Maybe they do a target behavior, they pinpoint detection. My verbal marker is yes, they come get the toy or the food. But I also have a release from behavior, which is the word free. So he's target pointing, I say free, he flies to me, where's my shit? I go, come on, next room, let's go check this. He gets even higher in drive because he's frustrated, I didn't get my shit, let me try harder. And it's the mystery, it's the gambler pulling the levers, fuck, let me guess, blah, blah, blah. So if you're going to a certification where you've done a 1-for-1, every behavior gets rewarded, you've got 5 cars to search, there's 3 hides, 2 blanks. You go to the first hide, the dog hits it, I'm not sure, I'm looking at the judge, he's not saying shit, okay, let me go to the fucking next car. Dog hits odor, boom, target behavior is done. I'm gonna call him at the end. By the third hide, dog says, fuck off. Let me piss on the third hide. Because you haven't prepared them with variable reward. You change the picture on certification day, they get fucked. I see it all the time. My guys made me insane. Third stage of the talent coach is master coaching. For me, when I was a kid, it was that baseball coach. This dude could do it, he could speak about it, he could teach about it, and he could show you exactly the tool. And for dog training, for me, it's Bart. I've had many, many people I've learned from over the years. We can probably capture in our mind the people that have influenced our lives positively, some negatively. Some people have taught you some dumb shit that you fucking say, I'm never doing that shit. That's sometimes equally as valuable. But for me, it's Bart. It's someone that understands how to put things together to teach you. Some people have come from spicy or lives where have been fulfilled. The kids in Beverly Hills that grow up with everything, spoon-fed, room service, chauffeurs, everything in the world, versus a kid that comes from fucking inner city that's had to fight his way to get everything in life. Sometimes a kid in the inner city needs a little fucking sugar to make things sweeter, and a fucking kid from Rodeo Drive needs a little bit of squeeze to show him the pressure. It's the individual that knows that. So we talk about teaching handlers, we're teaching dogs, knowing who's in front of us, what animal's in front of us, knowing what buttons to push, when to squeeze, when to sweeten. To me, that's a master coach that can put that shit into effect. And for me, what's really important, what we see today in dog training and social media, there's a lot of fake shit going on out there. When I was a kid, again, growing up, there was no social media. We only knew what was around us. Now it's the era of information, the age of information. There's so much shit out there. It's so hard for you to dissect, figure out what's relevant, what's right, what's practical, what works and what doesn't. So there's people out there teaching shit that they've never fucking done themselves. But there's very good people out there that maybe have not done the context, but are very good at getting there. There's some amazing civilian dog trainers out there that are teaching cop dogs that maybe have never experienced a live fight in their life, but getting to that moment, they've done everything they can build a dog to that point. So there's finding the credible people that know what they're doing is crucial. I came from the civilian dog training world, became a cop, and I've come full circle, I'm back out. As cops, sometimes we're sheltered. We don't want the fucking public to see what we're doing, either because we just don't fucking like those motherfuckers and make complaints on us, or we're a little bit insecure about the shit that we're doing, so we know it's a little bit fucked up, we don't want them to see. Finding incredible Howard, very good example, extremely talented trainer. Civilian, right? Civilian guy that can do it. He's proven it. Finding people that are civilians, that are qualified trainers is crucial. Don't cut off that fountain of information. Eric, same thing, just retired, now a civilian. But there's people out there that are very, very talented, knowing how to find them and gravitate toward them. Just cutting off them because they're civilian is deadly. But knowing how to sift through the bullshit is important. We'll talk about, this is my favorite component, but for me, and I know you're going to start preparing young dogs, right? So many years ago, somehow became this, when you're selling police dogs, became this performance guarantee. Holy fucking shit, that's scary, man. Giving these young dogs to some fucking ground and pound trainer that's going to break them. Holy shit, man, it's deadly. Police contracts, they want them for a year. Eric, what's your performance guarantee? A year? 6 months? 6 months? They got 6 months to get them through school. 5 months, 22 days in, they break the motherfucker, bring it back to you. You have to, right? So it's what used to happen many years ago. Guys and gals that have been in this game for 20, 15 plus years. We could go to Holland 10 years ago, 15 years ago, actually 15. Pluck a dog off a Cane-to-Be trial field. That's a savage, a monster. He's probably 2.5 years old. Pay $2,500 for him, fly with him back for cheap as fuck. Bring him into our shitty ground and pound e-collar burning fucking training program, roast him for 2 weeks to get him through the bullshit certification. He's got tons of horsepower and gas left to go hunt and bite on the street if he doesn't kill you in the process. Those dogs are few and far between now. Like I said, they don't exist, they're out there, but what we're getting these days is dogs that they say they're a year old, but they're probably fucking 9 or 10 months. They're babies. Why? Since 9/11, the global demand on dogs has gone through the roof. The supply does not fill the demand, and many fucking Muppets are in the game producing shit, passing off shit, and trying to filter shit, sell to the dumb Americans. And the shitty ground and pound techniques that people have not evolved from the caveman era are breaking these young dogs left and right. I see it all the fucking time. That's why my patrol dogs took 6 months. There's an initial evaluation, understanding the dog's level of maturity. I go through an evaluation period once I've purchased the dog after my screening process. And then once I see where the drives are at, then it's building. Build for many months. So, my favorite component of NePoPo is preparing the dogs for pressure. Whether it's pressure to do an obedience or getting kicked and punched and fucking their eyeballs gouged out by a bad guy. They're dogs for the stress and the conflict. And if you do it systematically, the dogs fly with heart and soul. There's those two words pieced again together. So first you create hope, which is the dolphin. The dog barking in the box, there's hope and anticipation. It's the gambler pulling the slots. It's there. They have it. With that high hope and the anticipation, it gives you the ability to squeeze and ask for more and more. They'll withstand the suffering. Guys, when you're dating a girl, you're going to withstand some shit. You're going to suffer some of the bullshit to get the big prize, right? It's the same thing with the fucking dogs, man. You build that hope. They will withstand the pressure. And not only that, the pressure, because they know the big prize is coming, they're fucking take it. They'll be like a sadomasochistic motherfucker. So again, I use my electronics as a go pedal, gas pedal, as a go, go, go. My prong collar is go. How do you make that moment happen? Well, in my stages of e-collar training, I'll take a dog like that big donkey, I did it with him. He's fucking sick for the ball, sick. I would grab him by a flat collar. I would tap into opposition reflex, which we're going to talk about here. I grab him, he wants to go forward because there's tension behind him. I put the ball out in front of him, e-collar's on a very low level, and I kick that fucker. That kick fetch game, because the ball is right in front of him, puts him in an incredibly high state of drive. Once I kick it, poof, I send him for the ball. I make my electronics be the classical condition catalyst to go fly into the ball. I do it with bite work. Poof, stallion. And the same thing with food. Feed. My prong collar, same thing. Flat collar, little tap underneath the chin, kick the ball, get the ball. When I feed, they feel that sensation, I want it to be fire, right? I want it to be fucking gas. If I simply use it to go, no, and crank them, it's going to deflate. Because later when I put pressure on them, I want them to fly into behaviors with heart and soul and not die, not get crushed. This, for me, is the backbone of NePoPo, the preparation. So anybody that's preparing young dogs, Europe is dry right now. Eric, how hard is it to fucking get dogs? It's brutal, brutal. It's time, money. You get them over here, they fall apart. Who the fuck has time to rebuild? There's a lot of domestic breeding going on right now. Well, the blood is in America. It's here. Raising puppies is a whole other science. But if somebody that's a vendor can grasp this shit, or you're bringing up a young dog, this is the fucking goal for me in NePoPo. It's the preparation. Opposition reflex, leave. It's coming up in the slide in a little bit. My power biting system. So many times when we see shit, Facebook fantasy, dog comes in, bicep bite, and get thrown against the fucking wall, or doing all kinds of pressure. Most of the time, the dog's going through a genetic roller coaster ride. There's been some preparation, but we just keep pressure and see what the dog can handle. When my dogs get kicked, when they get punched, when they get thrown against the wall, I condition them to bite fuller and harder, to push and dominate when they feel that conflict, when they feel that stress. I can create that shit. Some dogs will do it genetically. It's fucking, there's no training involved. But I always do it with my young dogs. I build them, when they feel it, they go forward. Now it's the dogs analyzing the environment, and they find their advantage by pushing and fighting. They can overcome that stress by digging in deeper, harder, and fuller. The power biting is a 2-day course, but this is the preparation I use for the stick to tap the dog. It comes from the handler, not the decoy first. So what happens is we use a long bungee, creates a tremendous amount of opposition reflex. The decoy comes towards the handler takes the slack off. 99% of the dogs, when they feel that tension release, they fly into the bite. It's NePoPo. Stretching out negative, release positive. And now I overlay a tap with the stick as I push. Later, getting hit with the stick means push. You do it systematically. It's not intrusive, it's a pat the stick. I'm just adding a tactile feeling to the behavior of pushing. So my dogs all have about 10 bite commands. Let me see your hands, stop resisting, get on the ground, all the verbal judo bullshit that was spit out in the middle of conflict. It's not that he just takes it. I want, when he hears that, he needs help, bite forward. You systematically embed that. Let me see your hands, push. Get on the ground, push. Classical conditioning. That fucking Muppet speak that I'm telling him has no value to him. Get on the ground, what the fuck are you saying? Who cares? Shut up. But there's silence, he's stretched out on the bungee, he's feeling that negative reinforcement, he's feeling that tension. The decoy comes in, and just before I push, get on the ground. They bite fuller, they get fulfillment, the decoy makes fight. Howard's really taking this, man, we talked about a year or so ago, and he's fucking grabbed this and ran with it. I love seeing that shit. To me, this is deep. So it's not just that dogs tolerate it. When they're kicked, or they're punched, or they're hit, it's classically conditioned to bite harder and fuller. It's very, very valuable. This is a preparation for the e-collar. A little bit of, the decoy doesn't know power biting, so it's a little bit sloppy, but you see, I tap the dog. When I push, I tap the electronics. So again, the electronics dog never had an e-collar on before in his life, so he doesn't mean shit to him, but just before he pushes, now that's going to mean fire, it's going to mean push. And people have been around and been burning dogs with e-collars, it just means no, find heel, food. Like, bro, what the fuck are you going to make this dog a monster where he's not going to listen? 127, I got no more. The dog's fighting through electronics is a void in the training. It's not the clarity of the training. Yes, they may work on a little bit higher levels, but they're going to fly in and out of behaviors. You have to, again, for young dogs, prepare them. One of the things I like to do, you saw a little pit bull in the box, is opposition reflex. Every single dog on earth has his neurological response to tension behind them to drive against it. When I was a kid, I had a little Jack Russell Terrier. He was 12 or 15 pounds. She was a little savage, loved to hunt. I'd put her on a choke chain, go for a walk. She's prowling. She would choke herself unconscious. And as a kid, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this dog? She's a psycho. It's an involuntary response. It's a reflex. They cannot control it. The doctor hits your leg with a rubber mallet, boom, you kick them in the balls. We use opposition reflex, again, to stay in target behaviors. I talked about the dog sniffing the euphoria smell. You can't pull them out. If you use opposition reflex to your advantage, it's a very, very powerful tool that can also fuck you in your handling if you're not aware of it. But I teach it in separate contexts. I don't put it into detection immediately. I teach it in sit, down, go to place first. I know you like your boots. So we do it down in Muck City. I'm using him to fight me to stay in behavior. Opposition. I have a slip leash that I'm pulling against, and I have a prong to correct if he gets out of position. Double whammy. This is where I'm going to start trimming the fat a little bit to move on. I teach that behavior in place first. Place box, dog knows how to go to place very well. He's facing me, I have food in my hand, he's trying to get to my food. I pull behind him, behind his neck, so he fights me. When I feel that tension, when I have the leash in my hand and he's fighting against it, tension release, I mark tension releases and I pay him. Fight him, pay him. Fight him, pay him. Then I go to 11 o'clock, fight him, pay him. Then I start moving, slicing the pie until I'm in front of him. And I feed him. They learn to fight you. It's a reverse psychology, mind fuckery. They've learned to fight you to stay in a target behavior. It's a very powerful reflex. I do it in everything. This is a 12-week-old puppy. I'm teaching her target pointing. Three-sided box with a little bowl in the middle. This is the very first day. I'm just loading the bowl. Feed, feed, feed. Create vigilance to the target. Once she understands that the food's coming from the bowl I have it in my hand, she's like, open your fucking hand. She's like, fuck you in your hand. I'm going back to the bowl where I got paid. Then the food comes. I can make it rain. She starts to understand, ignore fucking idiot with the food. If I look to the bowl, magic appears. We create a vigilance, we create power. She ignores the fucking hand, goes to the bowl. Right there. I want her to push a little deeper. Right there. Makes the food rain. Now I start to use opposition reflex. I've created a vigilance to the bowl. Now I'm saying, bitch, I'm going to pull you out of the bowl. Whang! Flies back. Preparation. Making them hard to stay in the behaviors that they want. Very similar example with an adult dog. Same box. I'm using opposition. He fights me. Flanking her, she says, fuck you and your dumb shit. Whistle, fuck off. Kick her with fucking dumb locker boots, fuck you. So what happens over time is that your bullshit distractions become cues to behave. If you systematically embed and teach the behavior, you make them hard to behavior, you add a distraction, they overcome it, they go back to the behavior, then they realize they're being set up. Or your bullshit becomes a cue to behavior. Not sure why that's tripping out. That's what the bowl looks like. So if you see it's a bowl with a washer and a nail. What we start to do is peel away the box, and we peel away the ball, and we peel away the washer, and then the dogs are looking for the nail. We recess the nail into concrete or into a joint of brick pavers. It's a little bit of the basis for hard surface tracking and magical shit. So we've advanced, you can see just under her nose there's the washer and the nail. And the target behavior is her to stay on point. She wants to fight me, she wants to run away, like run around, she wants to be able to look at me and get the food while she's targeting. So I make her fight me to stay in behavior. She spins away from me, I say, not happening. So I go back to the shit that she learned. She's fighting with me, creating a hardness. She says, fuck, I know I need to get there to make food come, so I'll tolerate your bullshit. She withstands the suffering to get what she wants. That's part of the hardening process. Boom, you see a few more smooth reps. You're picking up her back leg. She says, I know that's not the answer. I'm going to start moving through this. So yesterday, my buddy Tony Guzman sat in here. He said he liked the class, but he thinks I should spend a little more time on e-collar to make it benefit you guys. So the first stage of e-collar training is very, very crucial. If you notice, when I had that big donkey out, when I did the little hand on the side, when I brought the e-collar out, he went fucking ballistic. He became savage. I no longer do that with that motherfucker because he's an asshole. I gotta put him on place to dress him because he loses his shit. The secondary reinforcement, the knowledge of the e-collar coming out brings such endorphins to the animal, he loses it. How did I create that? It's a device that motherfucker thinks my barn cats are the devil. So I fucking roasted him with that collar. Once he learned it, it's not all just touchy-feely. We go to aversive control, just like the ham sandwich. He wanted to kill my fucking barn cats for not having that shit. So now, through aversive control, he still knows that that fucking collar means gold. How do we create that? How do we keep that? Well, the way I imprinted that collar with him is at my house in Florida, I had a barn where his kennel was, and I had a grassy turnout area, a fence with a gate that led to a pond. Well, that motherfucker is Michael Phelps. He loves to fucking swim, loves chasing the ball in the pool, in the pond. So I used that moment to create the conditioning of the collar. So what happened, he would shit piss, fly the gate. On the other side of the gate was a little bin, little big foam balls that he likes to play with. He would shit piss, fly the gate, say, open up, motherfucker, I want to swim. So he'd be headbutting the gate. He's a rude motherfucker. So I'd open the gate, throw the ball, splash. What I did is I took the e-collar and put it on his neck. It wasn't even turned on. Cinched it down, opened the gate, threw the ball, splash. Over and over and over again for weeks. But he knew that nothing happened till the e-collar went on. And the e-collar going on was the announcement, was a classical conditioning signal that the fucking pool party begins. I then changed the pictures. Go out to do bite work. Just before we go do bite work, e-collar goes on, party. He's a savage for food. Just before we went in that little training room, e-collar would go on, we work for food. So the e-collar became the announcement that we are about to party. See, I got pet owners that come to me too, that they've done this by mistake. I had a client the other day, he said, I fucking roasted my dog with the e-collar, I fucked him up, but he loves it. He loves it because he knows he gets to come with me to go play ball. They're paying attention. When my wife grabs her keys in her purse, that little chihuahua fucking goes ballistic because he knows he gets to go in the fucking purse, little bitch. He gets to ride with me, right? But the keys and purse, how do we train? We didn't train that shit. They're paying attention, they're hyper-vigilant, they're watching every fucking move you make to find their advantage. So that's how we make the sound and the noise and the feel of the equipment fucking cocaine. I love it. The next step is, we've talked about already, charging stim. Get your toy, get your food, go bite. You make the electronics fire. You make them so uplifted, it creates endorphins. The MMA fighter comes to the ring, it's game day, he comes to the ring, he gets his gloves inspected, guy checks him out from his fucking coach, gives him a couple fresh ones across the face before he goes in. He's gonna go take slaps in the face or defeat somebody. He just took it from his coach, which is uplifting and brings gas. He flies into the ring and goes to kick ass. We have to make the stimulations. We make the stim fire, and that's how we do that. The next phase of how do we attach stimulation to learn behavior, to produce the behaviors that we want, is that the operative word is attaching stim to learn behavior. The dog must know the exercise very, very well. He has to know it clearly. The first behavior I teach is go to place. Reason being is I want the dog to go away from me first. If you only use the e-collar to come to me, out and recall, it becomes a mother language. It means one fucking thing. So later when you say, fuck man, I saw that dumbass that hit, so I'm going to try and make my dog go sniff shit. You're going to go say, Sue. And he's going to heel. Because the tactile signal of your electronics means find the leg, find dad, find mom. You have to embed electronics with every single behavior so they're not one-sided. The first behavior I choose is place. I like flushing behaviors first. Push the dog away from me. What's one of the most difficult things for a pack animal to deal with? What's very punishing for a pack animal is being banished from the pack. What's the psychology? Fly back to the pack. So by making him go to place, I'm already creating a desire to come back for a recall. So it's go to place. And it's continuous stimulation until the dog arrives on the board and the stim shuts off. You saw it with a husky, he was just using vibration. So I had a question here. I said, stimulation means electronic stim, not vibration. It's a little bit different. I will say vibe, but I'm going to use vibe. Low level stim. So we pair it together. Eric and I again talk about it just in the podcast. Go to your place, stim stop, NePoPo. If this is the place board, stim stops, mark and pay. The dog finds their advantage by doing it. Very quickly after place, I teach the recall. Anybody play with what's called restrained recall? Somebody holds your dog and you run away from them. And then you call them. So what happens with restrained recall, opposition reflex, you're holding the dog back. You have a tangible reward, food or toy, which is creating drive for that. So you have opposition, you have food drive, and then you have pack drive, mom or dad's running away, and then you have prey, because they're moving. Using many, many senses, many, many stimuluses to create a behavior of flying to the owner. And then I give the e-collar to whoever's holding my dog. It's going to be like the dog's doing bite work. Anybody ever done this exercise? It's fucking gas to make the dog fly to you. You only run 10 yards or so. Hold the dog back, the person has an e-collar, you run, Fido. They fly. So you use a little tap to go. So the dog understands to find you under the electronic stim. Later, what I use to teach the dog is I use stim first, then the command. So the dog's moving away from me. Fido. Makes the U-turn, stim stops, and mark and pay. So they're learning to shut stim off by doing, and they understand Fido, they understand recall, here, come, whatever you use. On the effort, I'm rewarding the effort of the U-turn. So when they come in my direction, it stops. If they go squirrel and they deviate, it goes back on until they complete the exercise. So they realize that by getting off course, you can reapply the stim. Again, this is lower levels. It's just enough for the dog to piece it together with the behavior. Now, the ideal of electronic training is that you never use it. You never have to go there. What I see with a lot of the pet training systems is that it's every time you speak, come, sit, down. Now, what happens if there's no stim when you speak, if you use that system? Walk off, you're doing it wrong. So we have to get to a level where we're teaching the dogs to function without stim. How do we get there? What I do is that the dog must be clear on the exercise. I call them with no stim. Within 2 seconds, with no compliance, higher stim comes. Not the low levels you've been using to teach and coach. It's the knockout punch. Whang! Then it becomes classic escape and avoidance. They know what to do to avoid the knockout punch. It must come within 2 seconds. And I don't say no. No. I say, here. No response, 2 seconds. High stem. Boom, they fly to you. If they don't, it's something we have to add to the training environment. Higher stem, we'll go back to square one. Sure.
Say here again or no?
No. If they're so high in drive and distraction, and sometimes if it goes on too long, I'll lean on it until I see the behavior. Sometimes they're so fucked, you have to remind them. So it's finesse. It's understanding where the dog's mind is in the moment. It's not an absolute. So why don't I say no? Well, I do say no and create power to my words in other contexts. When I say no, to fucking stop the world. But when I piece my voice into the equation, the dogs start to hold you in contempt. They don't always blame themselves. I want the dog to blame themselves and the non-compliance for bringing the stim. I stay the fuck out of it. And of course, when they come to you, they get gold, NePoPo, overlaying negative with a positive. There's so much to that. My e-collar class is 2 days. It's a crash course, it's a quick overview, but that little segment of knowing when to go higher allows you to function without electronics. But in the learning pyramid, you can still always go back to heel, down, You can still create power with your voice every now and then, or it's reminders. Speaking with stim. Just say, hey. And especially with my work dogs and competition dogs, I was way more harder on them at home than I am on the competition, because I want harmony on the field. I want value in my words at home. So that they, let's say they fucking bully their way out the door, they're digging a hole, they'll fucking rock their ass for dumb shit around town. And again, because we've built up this stimulation, it means do better. Keep trying. Go, go, go. We have about 15 minutes left. Some quick videos of how we piece this together. How do we add it to our environment? How do we take NePoPo? Are going to throw up with the fact that I use a flexi leash. I'm a lazy fuck. I do not want to be moonwalking on the side of I-95 rush hour fucking detailing shit. I stay the fuck out of it. The flexi leash allows the dog to range and do what he wants to do. Yes, there's a little bit of tension in it because he understands opposition reflex. He's fighting through the tension to keep doing his job. And I don't get involved at all unless there's a part of the search area that he hasn't checked. So mark and pay. And you see there's a little bit of fight with the ball, but you see him going back to the odor before he spits it out. The ball's almost irrelevant to him. It's a fucking sniffing behavior. So you see right there, like, he goes back towards the hide on his own before I even fucking tell him to out. And I don't give a fuck if they sit, stand, or down on target point. I think this is where I use opposition. And then maybe it's the next one. So again, back towards the hide. Fucking let me go do it again. And I run the same hide over and over and over. Why? Because I'm a cheap fucking those fucking Scent Logic hides are expensive. No, but I can run reps on the same hide. I'm not scared to do that. So why don't I demand to sit? What physically happens if the fucking odor's in the cat? Most dogs, unless they're conditioned, are just fucking weirdos that have done yoga. They're not going to collapse their fucking ass and tickle their fucking balls into the bottom of the bottle. No, they're not going to. What they're going to do is remove themselves to achieve the sit. And the mindset of when they go into this sit is that they've gone from smelling into obedience. And they physically remove themselves from the hide, and we pay that behavior. And then if we're throwing it on source, a calm was going to rebound like a motherfucker, so they start moving and moonwalk like Michael Jackson, and then fucking Stevie Wonder say where that shit's coming from. I don't give a fuck. I want them pushing their nose to source as much as possible. How do I create vigilance to that? What I'm using here, still some cough in here, imagine this is a mason jar. I have a mason jar, same little permeated Q-tip in the bottom of the mason jar. My dog is the dolphin in the aquarium. He's a hostage on the treadmill. He cannot fuck me, he cannot spin, he cannot move, he cannot do shit. I have a captive audience. E-collars on. I make him stick his nose into the jar. Poof, do it. It's not a hunting game, it's obedience to odor. Go sniff. When you sniff, take my food, eat, and then go fucking bite. What happens is he wants to go bite. So he goes to the target behavior, sniff. I mark verbally, offer my food. He says, I don't want your food, I want to bite. Take my food, motherfucker. And he takes it. I don't have any scientific reason other than it's fucking for me, it's principle. I'm offering you food, take it, motherfucker. That should be. It's not like this double bridge genius bullshit. It's just, I'm paying you this, but in reality, I want to use food in bite work sometimes. I want to use food in other contexts. And if I make this motherfucker, and then he starts trying to take my fingers off because he knows that's the bridge to get a bite. Compartmentalization. This is a decoy that's seated. She's less stimulating than a guy jumping around like a fucking idiot, like a ballerina. And she's got a bite pillow, which isn't as lovely as biting a suit. So I've decreased the stimulus, working in low drive. And then when I mark, she stands up and gives room service. I don't have the sound on this. So again, I'm not begging him, he's using low level. I'm stimulating, eat. Then I tell him to go fucking bark and bite. Not crazy fight. She goes to the end of the leash, sits back down. She's out of the equation. It's no longer fighting. Out, sniff again. Doesn't take my food. Go back. So we build on that. That's where I'm going to start trimming the fat. Now it's about conflict management. Do this, or then you go sniff. So then I lay out all the bites, leaves, and toys. In the grate here, the odor's right here in the grate. And he will down to achieve the odor. In that crate is a female in heat. So I've thrown all kinds of distractions. You must sniff, motherfucker. Right? Now you see him knock the fucking ball out of the way to get the same ball that he's about to take from me. That's conflict management. And again, I keep running the same hide for a lot of reasons. Now I incorporate the decoy. This costs Facebook fights too. Again, I'm good at that. So behind me there's the metal box. You saw the pit bull working on a chair. So I make him bite the decoy, come back to me for secondary obedience, which in the sport world means dealing around the decoy. And then I make him go sniff. Again, it's not a hunting exercise yet. You must sniff. We play the video, then please ask a question. Can you hear the intake? So then I start moving the box around the room and adding hunting. Ma'am, what's your question?
Yes, I'm wondering why you are preparing the decoy with the odor. Is that decoy for the reward?
Yes, excellent question.
Jackpot?
Yeah, it's a high value, it's distractionary work, and it's high value. So I'm a behavior geek. I'm fascinated by the guys and gals that work overseas. If you've ever worked a dog on a street that's bitten human beings a lot, they become junkies to fucking bite people. They become wolves hunting their fucking prey. It's an amazing evolution. It is the highest value reward in dogs. Maybe breeding's close, but it's an incredible evolution. And with that high value reward, it becomes very distracting. So guys and gals that work overseas, that will deploy their dogs into a fucking mud hut and assassinate motherfuckers, drag the bodies out, and then in the same environment where they got that high value reward, now they must switch gears and go find explosives. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's high level shit, and not every dog is genetically capable of switching gears. This dog is a low threshold twitchy fuck. He's not ideal for this. How is that relevant in law enforcement? Drug dog handling. Got dogs that have fucking been on the street. The fear scent. The scent picture that they've acquired from biting human beings. You pull over a fucking car that's 4 or 5 deep. There's warrants, there's guns, there's dope in the car. But for some reason they didn't fucking bail out. That sticky icky is soaked into the fucking seats. That fear scent is all over the fucking car. But now, you fucking pull the bodies out, you sit them on the fucking curb. That fear scent is accessible. Ooh, that's fucking fun shit. Now you're asking them to go search for drugs where there's fucking fear scent available for them to go bite. That's not easy. That's not easy for dogs to switch gears. That's where it's relevant in today's world. And what I noticed with this, the next few times I went to do detection with no decoy around, his detection solid to begin with was on another level. So the pairing of the fucking biting sensation with the odor made his fucking searching ability through the roof. This again started a Facebook war. They didn't put the question out as pleasantly as you did. So. Why the fuck? I would never fucking. Well, for me, I'm a behavior geek, and I like the dog's retired. I like to tinker with shit. But for me, that gear switching is on another level. That's fucking sick. So now I piece it together with hunting. So the aid is in that bottom cabinet. Decoy seated again, a little bit lower to the middle. That click and release shit sometimes fucks you up. But look at the hunting behavior of the decoy close. Now, he pinpointed on the cabinet next to it. I got some shit for that. Oh, yeah. So the cabinets, they're not partitioned. It's wide open. The decoy occupied that space right where the source is. The dog knows if I fucking bite, it comes. So he sniffed the cabinet closest that he could find without getting fucked. So I'm running out of time. Another application for the real world is in tracking. This dog was an incredible dog that an agency just south of me was a plantation. Hootie, Daryl Rasmore. The dog went through the school, tracked very well in school, had 3 bites in his first fucking week. And they were all head up, no, he saw the guy, smelled the guy in the wind. So he said, I don't need to put my nose down for shit. So then we started using the Dick Stall system of target pointing, hard surface tracking, got his nose back on the ground, and then I overlaid NePoPo with the Dick Stall system. Is that what happens is when the dog target points on the nail recessed into the ground, into the blocks, we would throw food. The food would trickle away, and the dog would eat it and fly back to try and hunt and find the nail. It's needle in the haystack shit. Really, it's an amazing system. When I overlaid NePoPo, the dog would retrieve the food. The fucking thing's not working. He would go hunt, boom. Low stem would stop when he found it. Then he understood that system, and then I would add control distraction. I would take a Tupperware box, fill it full, I'd go eat fucking chicken wings. I'm on keto, I eat fucking chicken wings for dinner. We'd put it in a Tupperware box with holes punched in the top. I put it downwind so we could smell that shit. He'd go off. I go, whoa, bad idea. Poof. You go back to tracking. So the way I set those proofs up is that I would run a track. I would stop, have the track layer picked up in a car, driven 30, 40 yards away, however distance you want, redeposited, and then hide for a track or hide the toy, whatever the fuck your system is. But in the middle, there's a void, there's no man's land. That's where I would set up my distractors in the beginning. So I know there's no way the dog's piecing together human odor with it. It's you gotta be very careful when you start using aversive control in your scent work. Is that if your timing's not good, they will associate target odor with fucking bad feelings. So I know for sure, 100% certainty that there's no way you can acquire human odor here. He goes, the track's ending, let me go fuck around with some chicken wings, or I'll take those fucking have-a-heart traps and find a fucking stray cat, sorry kitty cat, or a raccoon or some shit. Animals that fucking, or dogs that critter after animals on track, you can stop that bullshit. Everything on earth has a signature odor. And they'll smell that shit, just like my fuck that donkey says fucking cats are the devil, they're gonna go, fuck that alley cat, and stay on task. This is pretty early on in the stages. It's a pretty difficult track. It's all hard surface. It continues on to an intersection. There's a lot of wind. But in this little area, it's an outdoor mall down in South Florida. It's a grassy area where every little asshole Chihuahua and Maltese in Palm Beach County hikes their leg and pisses. I know it's soaked with animal odor. The track comes here, goes around this little island and continues. He fucking goes to check out animal odor and he gets fucking rocked. And he goes right back into tracking behavior. He goes, oh, Chihuahua. I think I'll track. I won't be over here sniffing because good things happen when I sniff. The track continues a little bit.
It just,
yes, sir.
on that, did you, it looked like stimulation, were you graduating stimulation, or did you just hit at the moment he said, oh fuck, I felt that?
It was aversive. It was high level with no words. I didn't speak. I knew his levels. I helped train him with electronics, so I knew his level. I knew it was more than guiding, more than coaching. It was fuck out. And now it's very dangerous adding electronic aversive control in scent work. You gotta be very, very careful.
You gave him time to kind of make his own decision for a second there to get back out of that
Yeah,
situation?
no, once you see him jump like a cat, stim stops. I've stopped the unwanted behavior. I fucked him for sniffing horse or dog piss. Then I let him discover or go back into the behavior that is a target. I don't say, keep sniffing. And that's what we call training through GPS. So yesterday I forgot all this fucking shit, this Apple stuff for the Mac. I had to go to the Apple store. So I plug in the GPS coordinates for the Apple store. It says turn right, turn left. It guided me there. I couldn't find that place again if you wanted me to because I didn't have to pay attention. So if they're always relying on electronics, let's say the bottle cap is the scent. If they're not stupid, They're gonna go to it until they feel that shit stop. So what I do in the beginning is create the idea, but then I use it as like we call E-shaping. So let's say you're training a crowd of people that you see they stop hunting and they go to visit. Oh, hey, Jason. Oh, fuck Jason. I'll keep hunting. What's up, go with the beard? Oh, fuck you. So I can create these electronic boundaries to stop fucking around. When they leave the unwanted checking out and they go back into hunting, leave them the fuck alone. It's dangerous, bro. It can not only that because they're relying on you to show them, just like the whole like detailing shit with Cameron's whole platform of gestural communication. It'll be electronic communication of them relying on you to show them where they are with electronics. Training through GPS. So it's dangerous. Hey man, I'm gonna run over time here. I have to do what I do here. That shit's funny as fuck. This is my contact information. Please hit me up, man. I come from a place where a lot of people extended their lives, their hearts, their minds to me early on in training. And I'm about the philosophy of paying forward, man. My schedule's busy as fuck. I'll do everything I can to take time to answer questions, so please feel free to hit me up. And I always end with a little bit of fun. We got some live advice here that are always entertaining. Good helicopter pilot. Oh, look, turbulence. That's it, folks. I'm grateful for your time and attention. Thank you.